Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Well, this is Mosport, and I'm Bruce McLaren.
Winner of last year's Players 200.
The building seems to be in readiness for the start of the first Formula One World Championship event ever to be run in Canada. The very top competition in the auto racing world is here. The very top drivers in the world.
Suddenly, the corner gets very tight and goes downhill. It's quite tricky. You can't make a mistake here. Most of the work has always been respected and fear, I think, by some of the greatest drivers and Canadians. Heavy wings.
They actually start the turn before they can see the turn.
Yeah, and to say almost is quite kind because I think he is.
Lost 1,000 kilometers into the leading roads on Jackie. That's a surprise.
Is Miguel Duhamel on the Suzuki, followed by McGregor and the rest of the riders through turn number 3.
If I qualify ahead of him this weekend, I have a good chance to win this one.
Kenny Roman sprints into the lead, and something's happened back in the Paddy Fellows over the crest of the hill, breaking into turn number 8. Spinard on the inside. Here goes Ronnie Fellows up to the outside. We're racing eMotorsport. Scott Sharp got a great start there. In fact, Jeff Jackson's on the final turn. Here it comes. Trying the alley Williams. Holy man, they all go from there. Look at the dish in the celebration.
Rapidly at Tire Motorsport Park of the race course. And one of the things you might want to do as we close to the race weekend, make sure you stop by and visit the marketplace there in
Tire Motorsport Park. See this line corner going here to turn number 2. Wins in Canada.
Operation Motorstarts helped me get me away from home, I guess you can say. I'm at home doing nothing because of my medical stuff. Besides the basic brake changing, oil changing, tire rotation. I've actually learned how to assemble and disassemble some engine parts, change some axles, do some alignments and stuff. So give it a try. You never know. This was nothing that I expected. I did not expect to be fully suited, jumping over a wall while cars are going 100 and something miles an hour. It's more than working on cars. For one, you're building friendships, you're meeting new people. And if working on cars is not your thing, Operation Motorsports has other things that you can do. Something, it's not just, I'm going to go out there and turn a wrench on a wheel.
On average, 22 veterans from North America commit suicide every single day. That's one veteran for every second of this video.
The fifth race of the 2021 Winter League calendar for Operation eMotorsports, presented by Recaro, brings us to Canada's home for motorsports, the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. This nearly 2.5-mile playground has played host to multiple Major League Motorsport series over its 60-year history, and tonight it serves as the halfway mark for an already electric season of sports car competition on the sim. Last week at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, an open driver and Christopher Bailey took the overall win for the first time this season and his third in class. Paul Lindsay topped the pros, while Hunter Reeve also grabbed his third victory of the campaign for the beneficiaries. Now, with 4 races to go, who will take hold of the last available opportunity to score big in the Great White North? This is round 5 of the 2021 Winter League of Operation eMotorsports, presented by Recaro, and it's coming at you live on Pit Stop TV. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the virtual Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where, as I mentioned, we are at the halfway point of the season for our friends at Operation eMotorsport, and I cannot explain how excited I am to be here, specifically with this racetrack. I'm not alone, though. We've got JP Costa joining me on the call of tonight's race, Emerson Arden handling our production duties all evening long, and Corey Rexford is holding it down for us on the social media front. And we'll extend a special hello to those of you who may be joining us on Facebook, Twitter, or even Twitch and YouTube. Share this around because there is some incredible stories throughout this field and some incredible racing coming your way momentarily. Now, before we get going, JP, this racetrack is a lot of fun. It's a personal favorite of mine, whether it be a sports car, a stock car, it doesn't seem to matter. But the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, as we mentioned, 60 years in existence. It's got some incredible character, though, as a racing venue. And I think we're going to be privy to some exciting action here tonight.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a perfect racetrack for pretty much any sort of race. You know, you just have a lot of elevation changes, a lot of difficult corners, fast-flowing corners, slow corners for overtaking. It just provides great racing. Doesn't matter which car you drive, you know. It's just overall perfect. I'm pretty sure it's a driver's favorite for pretty much, I guess I would say 95% of the drivers here tonight. And I'm sure they can't wait, just like us, to get the racing going in just under, 15 minutes.
Yeah, so we're getting closer to race time. We'll take a quick look at the championship points and some of the front runners across all 3 classes. We'll explain them a little bit further, but you see for the pros, driver up front who's visited victory lane already this season, and Brandon Egerchek leads the points for the pros. Paul Lindsay, last week's winner for this category at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, second. Shane Hunter, you see there in third. Then we get to the beneficiaries, where Hunter Reeve, 3 for 4 on the season so far. The only other driver to visit victory lane, chasing him there in second in the points with Dia Broselma, and he is trying to make up that 9-point deficit, while John Winker is also looking to find victory lane for the first time this season, still right there in third, 25 points back. And then the open drivers, where Chris Bailey, not only does he have 3 class wins, he's got the overall victory from last week as well, which is just a feather in the cap for his season. Sean Knight, the only other driver to visit victory lane so far for the open competitors, and Rodney Campbell, your top 3 in points there. And a quick look at the track that we'll be competing on that JP Costa was mentioning mentioning, 2.4 miles in length, 2.459 if we want to get specific about the layout of the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. But as you can see, just by some of the names and characteristics of this venue, from the start-finish line to the right-hander at turn 1, through Clayton Corner, which is a very daunting sweeping left-hander that kind of leads a little bit downhill as you approach turn number 3, which has a similar characteristic, before you weave your way down to Moss Corner, one of the best passing zones, that back-to-back sharp right-hander that leads you up towards the famous Andretti straightaway. You come down through the S's before the final turn number 10 at White's Corner, which is your last chance to get the job done en route to the start-finish line. And that is a quick lap around the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and what these drivers will be facing for their 60-minute event here this evening. Now, with this being another event for Operation eMotorsport, there are so many people who are involved in making this possible, and it is with that we have the distinct honor and pleasure to bring in one of the brand ambassadors for the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, also a name that many of you may be familiar with. We'd like to welcome to the booth Sam Fellows, who is joining us here tonight to talk more about this venue and this series. First of all, Sam, welcome to the broadcast booth. Happy to have you here tonight. What a special event. Right off the bat, your involvement with this series is something that everybody appreciates all the way around. I want to ask you, though, we mentioned brand ambassador. What does that role entail for the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park?
Thanks, Eric. Thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, brand ambassador is a very open-ended role, and I kind of wanted it that way because I'm involved in so many aspects of the business, from marketing to PR, social media, sponsorship initiatives, and also as a driving instructor for our Ron Fellows driving experience. So there's not one title that really encompasses kind of everything that I do. And I joked around with my dad that maybe my business card should just say like all around good dude or something silly like that. But brand ambassador works for me as well because, you know, my parents being part of the ownership. So when I speak on behalf of them and the track, I'm literally an ambassador and representative for the brand. So that's kind of where my thinking fell on that one.
Now, you mentioned briefly your parents, of course, Ron and Linda. Ron Fellows been around motorsports for a very long time, and that kind of leads to our next question, Sam. I mean, one would think that's perhaps how you got your start into motorsports. What was your first foray into motorsports like? How did that happen?
Yeah, well, I always wanted to get behind the wheel when I was a kid watching Dad, and you know, he kind of made a pact with my mom when they started having family that he was going to take all the kids and the family to the track. And so, you know, I was basically raised at the racetrack and kind of grew up specifically under the Corvette Racing Pratt & Miller tent. And that was, you know, an amazing experience. And I miss those days, to be honest. But when I got a little older, I didn't, to be honest, really want to go to university, and my dad kind of set me straight on that. But we made a pact that after university, if I still had you know, the inkling to go racing, he would help me out. So we went racing with a club racing with a 96 Camaro, pretty stock stuff, and just, you know, went out and having some fun, and managed to gain a bit of a reputation with or a rapport with some of the guys at FAF Motorsports, and they really helped me out with my first debut in Canadian touring car with it was a BMW 235i IR, and then jumping up from that into Porsche GT3 Cup in 2019, and then a whole lot of nothing last year, and hopefully something this year. So that's where we're at.
Interesting to hear how you're still so involved and immersed in the sport on so many different levels, and that doesn't just, you know, take us into the cockpit. It also stems on the sim platforms as well. Tell us, if you can, a little bit about your involvement in the world of sim racing and how that plays a role in your success on the racetrack and the real world setting as well.
Yeah, well, I guess I kind of misspoke, because a lot of what I did last year was sim racing, and to be honest, I almost kind of see it as two separate things, because in a way it really is. I mean, the people I've met in sim racing, it's another world, and being in quarantine and lockdown all last year and so far this year as well, but getting to meet and be part of that community, there's definitely some crossover, but you know, the people in sim racing are extremely passionate about it, so it was really nice to see the two, you know, real world and sim racing kind of overlap. last year, and I'm hoping it stays like that. But yeah, I think for the long time I thought that sim racing was an incredible way to stay sharp, especially over the winter and right now through COVID, and especially to stay sane, really. But especially with regard to learning new tracks, it's a pretty invaluable tool. I've found some some mods for not for iRacing, for another app though, for some tracks that hopefully I'll be racing at in the real world this year, and in Canada, and so I've been a couple times a week going on the sim and just prepping myself for learning those courses, and I know for a fact that when I show up, I'll hopefully have an edge on some of the other competitors, and yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it. I got to be involved with Porsche Canada last year as kind of a mini unofficial representative of the sim series, and their stuff is really taking off. But I think in general it's a great way to get people involved, and I know with what Operation Motorsport is doing, it's all good. It's really awesome, and we're happy to be a part of it.
We appreciate you being here as well. We're talking to Sam Fellows, again, brand ambassador for the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And Sam, you alluded to just how tough 2020 was for everybody, whether you're a racer, track operator, it doesn't really matter what your role is. Motorsports took a bit of a hit last season with everything going on with the COVID-19 pandemic. Happy to say, though, it appears we're getting back to some form, I'll call it a relative normal. With that, what does Canadian Tire Motorsports Park have planned for 2021? And also, this is a big year for you guys, celebrating 60 years of operations there, and you also unveiled a special logo for that, which we'll be pulling up here in just a moment. So what do you guys have coming up this season, and how significant is this 60th anniversary and logo for you guys?
Well, what I can tell you is we would very much like to celebrate 2021 with some spectator racing events, but the ability for us to do that remains to be seen. And we're keeping in touch with our local health officials in Canada, and kind of weighing our options and seeing what's going to happen when we come down the line here. But I think, to be honest, and I think it's really going to come down to vaccinations and, what the government is going to allow in terms of spectators. And obviously safety is, a top priority for us, for, not just the competitors, but of course the fans and our staff. And so if we can't celebrate in person with fans and racing, we've got some contingencies planned for some online celebrations. And one thing I'm working on right now with my dad is as a 60th anniversary podcast, where we're going to bring in some guests from Canadian Motorsport and share stories and go bench racing, as they say, talking about all the great stories from over the years, and it should really be really fun. So I hope everyone stays tuned for some of that stuff that's coming out. But there's 60 years of incredible history, and the stories literally are endless, and so we're just hoping that we can share some of that, because obviously, in 2011, becoming Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, it felt like a bit of a new chapter for the circuit. But we really see, Mosport and Canadian Tire Motorsport Park as the same thing, as an extension of each other, and so the logo, I think, was a bit of a way to do that without, it's kind of, I guess you'd have to talk to the guy who designed it, Ivan Novotny. He's an amazing graphic designer here in Canada, but I think what was important was that the logo, like I said, encompassed both the Mosport era and the CTMP era, and you can see that in the way it's the track layout is kind of built into the zero of the 60, and like I said, both those eras are the same. We find is the same story, so that heritage is super important to us.
It's certainly incredible and a lot to look forward to. I'll be keeping my eye out for that podcast that you mentioned that'll be coming up hopefully in the not too distant future. Now, you also talked about, just how special this initiative of Operation eMotorsport and Operation Motorsport as a whole is to you, your family, and Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. With that, are there any other initiatives, or how does Canadian Tire Motorsports Park engage with the military and veteran community?
Yeah, well, oftentimes I think CTMP finds itself as the lone Canadian stop for these American-based racing series like NASCAR, IMSA, and World Challenge. So showing our pride for our Canadian military service people and veterans is especially important to us. And as a way to, doing that as a way to honor our American counterparts. So whether it's through, including, a military color guard or Canadian Air Force flyovers, and we've even had some veterans as Grand Marshals. We had retired Major General Lewis McKenzie was our Grand Marshal in 2017, and so it's something that's super important to us, and to be able to work together with Operation Motorsport and the initiatives and projects that they contribute to is it's really a no-brainer for us. So I'm excited to see the race tonight, and I've watched a bit of it as online previously to this, of course, and the previous race in the summer, and it's fantastic stuff.
Well, we can't thank you and everybody at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park enough for not only what you do for Operation eMotorsport, but for that entire military and veteran community. Sam, before we let you go, just want to ask, we all have our fingers crossed. That track deserves to have spectators lining the fences there each and every motorsports event that you guys put on and beyond. And we are hoping that that's going to be happening in the not too distant future. How can people learn a little bit more about Canadian Tire Motorsports Park and keep track of the upcoming schedule, events, and announcements? What's the best place for our viewers and listeners to be able to catch all that information?
Yeah, well, probably the best way to keep in touch with us right now is just to stay tuned to our social media channels. We're on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Instagram is probably the biggest channel that we have, where we post the most content, and a lot of historical stuff right now with the anniversary, but all those are at CTMP official. And we'll post any updates related to COVID-19 and celebrations for 2021. All that will be shared to the channels, and it's nice for you guys to say that you appreciate what we do for Operation Motorsport, but we really appreciate what they do, and of course appreciate the service of the veterans and the service members. Obviously, just incredible people, and really glad to be affiliated.
I think that's perfectly said. Sam Fellows, a man behind a venue that we all know and love, that is stepping up in a big way to help support a series and initiative that we all know and love here with Operation Motorsport and the eMotorsport event here tonight. Sam, thank you so much for your time. We look forward to catching up with you again soon, and good luck throughout the rest of 2021. And congratulations on the 60-year anniversary there at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Thank you, Eric, and good luck to all the racers tonight, and have fun in the broadcast.
Thanks a lot, Sam. And again, that is Sam Fellows, and with the Fellows family behind that racing venue, I promise that any racing historian could be well assured that that track is in the best hands that it possibly could be. So we want to thank Sam for stopping by again. Now we're going to turn our attention to tonight's competition and race. As we mentioned earlier, we got 3 different classes of drivers that are going to be competing here tonight. You will see them identified in the timing and scoring ticker, and we'll go over that a little bit more as we get down to race time. But you're watching the final few moments of qualifying, and we talked about how Christopher Bailey actually was the first driver this season, not in the pro category, to capture an overall victory. And it looks as though that trend may be starting to shift a little bit, as there's a second open competitor that is fastest in this qualifying session, with that of Sean Knight. The first pro is where you'll find Charlie Bass, who's currently 3rd quickest. Dustin Burkhalter, another pro, is in the 4th spot. Trevor Hill takes you through your top 5. And the fastest driver for our beneficiaries, probably no surprise, Hunter Reeve, who's been on a bit of a roll so far this season. He's currently the fastest beneficiary qualifier and currently scored about 12th overall in the running order. A lot to unpack, a lot to talk about, but as you can see, time is winding down, and JP Costa, we may have a couple of minutes before we turn over to our starting lineup, but after hearing from Sam Fellows, it sounds like this venue has a lot to look forward to. But again, the headliner here tonight is the series and all that Operation eMotorsport stands for. I'm welcoming the fact that I'm back and part of one of this broadcast here tonight, but as Sam mentioned, the racing has been phenomenal, and I think tonight's going to be no exception.
Yeah, exactly. Last season, it provided some great racing for us throughout the hour, and I'm pretty sure tonight's going to be no different. The grid is extremely close. We have a dozen drivers within the same second, and obviously in race pace that can all change with the slipstream, with different strategies in relation to fuel, the car setup that some drivers may be using. So I'm expecting to see very, very close and very exciting racing here tonight.
Yeah, and we also are going to be keeping tabs on all of our front runners throughout their respective classes. And as we mentioned, the season is starting to wind down here. We got Sonoma next week, Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, the penultimate round on March 9th. And the series is going to come to a head at the Sebring International Raceway on March 16th for an extra distance race. They're scheduled to go 120 minutes there as opposed to their traditional 60-minute format. And all the action, as you know, you could catch it live on Pit Stop TV. So last couple of cars remain on track. One item that we're going to discuss and talk about is about 1 minute and 25 seconds. That's about the average lap time, even though the quick lap of record by Bailey is a 1 minute 24.331. Reason why that will be relevant is when it comes down towards the white flag, we'll know when that's going to happen, and we'll also have an idea of what the delta could be if we should encompass any type of pit strategy that could unfold throughout this contest. Watching one competitor try to make it back to the start-finish line, if at all possible, navigating his way here through turn number 9, and now coming through White's corner, the right-hander at turn 10, with a little bit of protective curbing there to driver's right, and he is going to make it to the stripe. We'll see if he's able to pick up some lap time. That's our own Andrew Cardinale IV, who is participating in tonight's event as an open driver. Fitting, he's one of the last cars to come to the checkered flag in the session, and it's now time to turn it over to our starting grid for this 5th race of 8 on the 2021 season for Operation eMotorsport. And Christopher Bailey, fresh off the overall victory last week, wins pole with Sean Knight, a pair of open drivers on the front row, and car 65 starting in second. Take you back now to row number 2 as we flip through our starting field and starting positions. The highest pro driver of the field is that of Charlie Bass in a 94, and third outside is going to be Dustin Burkhalter, another pro competitor in car 33. 5th starting position is where you're going to find Trevor Hill in car 42, another open competitor, and then Rodney Campbell in a 62 is going to roll off on the outside of row number 3 in 6th spot. Back to row 4 on the inside, Tyler Langenberg's been very busy throughout the week. He's a pro competitor in the number 91. Outside, David Levine, I should say, in the 259 car. Going to start in 8th position. And rounding out our top 10 in qualifying here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, Paul Lindsay, who was the pro winner last time out at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And on the outside, it is going to be Brandon Egerchek in car 86, another pro driver, rounding out your top 10.
But starting off in P11, we do have Shane Hunter in the pro category, trying to emulate probably a comeback race just like he did last week, where he finished 6th place. Right alongside him, the beneficiary pole sitter, technically, the number 44 of Hunter Reeve, who last week actually finished 4th place overall. I'm pretty sure he's going to be trying to do the same here tonight. Jason Leach on the number 22 is going to be starting on the inside line in 13th spot. And if the 24 car of Theo Brosema is going to be starting on the 14th spot, actually getting really close to his championship rival, Hunter Reeve. Hopefully they can put up a show tonight. Starting off in P15, we do have Andrew Cardinale in the number 90 car, and alongside him, Brian Burkhardt in the number 18 on the outside lane. Starting off in P17, we do have the open driver of Chris Matthews on the number 92, and alongside him, the pro driver of Travis Hill, the number 41. I'm pretty sure he's going to be trying to do a comeback race after this qualifying session. And starting off on row number 10, we do have in the 19th position on the inside line, the number 11 of Callum Belden, and right alongside him on the outside lane, we do have the beneficiary driver of John Winker in the number 7 car.
Take you through the rest of the starting grid. Back to the 21st position. Brock Hogan, a beneficiary in the field, starting alongside of Rick Hazlitt in 22nd spot. 23rd is where you're going to find Tim Bernard, another beneficiary in the field as well. And also is where you'll find, that's Brian Winker, who's going to be on the inside. Bernard outside in 24th position. Back another road, it's at 25th, is where you will find Jake Leeson and Justin Jarrett. And rounding out our field with our final row of competitors on the back row is going to be Glenn Gray, another open driver, and Kurt Gudenkauf is your 28th and final starter for today's 60-minute event. So we're about a half lap away from going green. Here's a look at what the weather is right now. Ambient air temperature about 77 degrees or so, partly cloudy, so conducive. Would have welcomed that warmly if we had that here in the Mooresville, North Carolina area today. Track temperature, though, it's up there a little bit, 111 degrees. We'll keep an eye on that. A little bit of a breeze from the southwest at about 8 miles per hour at this track that is located up in Ontario, Canada. So as they come down the Andretti straightaway, before we get set for the green flag, let's reiterate what this series is all about. As their mission statement is to virtually engage service members and veterans through eMotorsport diversionary therapy as an introduction and conduit to Operation Motorsport's mission and opportunities to aid in retraining, recovery, and rehabilitation. And there are a number of people who make that happen. We mentioned the presenting sponsor of tonight's broadcast, our friends at Recaro, who do so much for Operation eMotorsport. And they are involved in this series in more than one way. And we will talk about them a little bit later on in tonight's broadcast. And, of course, Mobile One, who stepped up big to help out this series for 2021 and hopefully beyond as well. So we're getting set for the green flag. And as we saw, Christopher Bailey trying to ride a wave of momentum. The open driver is going to lead the 28-car strong field down for what will be the official start of the second half of the 2021 Winter League season here for Operation eMotorsport. We're underway from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and it's Bailey who gets the jump from pole while the field storms their way down towards turn number 1. Will everybody survive the first corner? So far, everybody keeps it straight. They run up the hill now to turn number 2, setting up for Clayton Corner with battles for positioning raging on further down the running order.
Christopher Bailey got an absolutely perfect start, pretty much gunned it as soon as the pace car went off and got a perfect jump, but right now he's pretty much under pressure from Sean Knight. Looks like the BMW came alive on turn 3 and 4 as they head now. Actually, now they're heading to turn 4 and turn 5, the Moss corner. Looks like Christopher Bailey might not have the job done just yet. The BMW is really pressuring him, and Charlie Bass keeps it in 3rd, but Trevor Hill jumped all the way from 5th to 4th place. Looks like he just ran a bit wide, but managed to keep the car in the white line, sorry, and keeps his 4th position. But looks like right now Sean Knight dropped a bit from Christopher Bailey and might be under pressure from Charlie Bass.
Bass on the charge, and you could get a bit of a draft up here on this Andretti straightaway, despite the fact it's a bit of an undulating as far as elevation straightaway, and it does have a couple of bends and curves into it as well before you have to stomp on the binders here and come through this right-handed corner where Bailey slides up a little wide. Knight tries to close up. Bass tries to close up. Top 3 still locked together as they come through the S's for the first time, and off of White's corner at turn 10 to come down to complete lap 1. And even though it's a 2.5-mile track, or just under, lap times seem to go by pretty quickly here. About 1.25 minutes is all it takes to get around this venue. And right now, Bailey's trying to open up the advantage at the front. But you're right, JP. It looks as though that Charlie Bass, one of the pros in the field, highest running pro as of right now, is trying to close up there on that runner-up battle as he is chasing down Sean Knight.
Yeah, currently he's sitting on the exact position where he finished last week on the overall 3rd spot, but I'm sure he wants to improve on that. Obviously, currently leading the pro category, but, you know, anything can happen on this race. As you said, it's only a 1:25, 1:26 lap time. You know, it's a very, very fast racetrack. You know, the average speed must be very high on these cars, especially because we only have a few corners that are actually really slow. Only the Moss corner. The rest of it are pretty much fast-flowing corners, but looks like Charlie Bass got an excellent run out of the Moss corner, and it might be challenging Sean Knight as they head into turn 8.
Looks though got a little bit of a run here, and you can see him starting to close up here as they come up towards turn number 8 through that Andretti straightaway, which is going to be a moment of contention. Looks though he's having a peek, perhaps setting up to the outside, maybe trying to fill the mirror. No, he's going to make the pass. What a move. Can he make it stick though on the outside of the corner? That was a power move by Charlie Bass around the outside of turn 8 at the end of that back straightaway, and that's going to stack the field up a little bit there. They both had to gingerly work their way through the corner, and now Knight is under fire from 4th on back.
Sean Knight got actually compromised there. He unfortunately was pinched to the inside and had to brake, had to yield the position, and that made him fall under pressure from Dustin Burkhalter, who actually jumped him. But looks like he's struggling at the moment. That BMW is going to dip the wheel onto the grass. He doesn't, but he loses another position to Trevor Hill. So the BMW driver of Sean Knight absolutely dropping back on the field right now. I'm not pretty sure if he's feeling the pressure. Maybe something went wrong with the BMW, but right now he doesn't seem comfortable with it.
Also, we have a problem for Brian Burkhardt, another one of the open competitors who spun at the exit of turn number 1. Let's go back and try to see what happened to Burkhardt. This was coming through the first corner. We saw him very close to the pit exit wall as the pit lane would kind of lead you up onto that split straightaway that connects turns 1 and 2 by himself. and caught a little bit of curbing there right at the apex of the turn. Great job. No, he missed the pit exit wall, but caught the concrete on the inside of the exit of the first corner. So thought he was going to get away with one without damage there, but that was a pretty significant shot to the right front. And Burkhardt is now behind the 8 ball for the time being, and he's fallen down the running order. But still a long way to go. Over 55 minutes left in this 60-minute event, as we have a couple of drivers try to work their way up further forward. The leader is that of Bailey, clear out in front. The battle for second beginning to intensify as Dustin Burkhalter has caught Charlie Bass for the runner-up spot. And then you got to look back just a little bit to Trevor Hill and the new 5th place runner, and Sean Knight, who's dropped from where he was running in 2nd position, but he got way off the racetrack and was lucky to save that car from significant impact right here 1 lap ago.
Yeah, exactly. If you just get a bit too wide on turn 2, that can really cost you, that can really ruin your race, because as soon as you dip a wheel into the grass, you're just going to be going off because there's absolutely no grip. And just as we were showing the replay, Tim Bernard actually came out of the pits and unfortunately hit the wall hard on the Moss corner. Unfortunately for the driver, he already finds himself only a lap down, only with 5 minutes starting the race. As you can see, ooh, Dustin Burkhalter absolutely hits the curb. The car goes up on 2 wheels, and now is he gonna get collected by the field? Looks like he isn't, but that was a really strange incident. He unfortunately tried to go down the inside and hit the curb, and the car absolutely jumped on the curb. That's a really strange move from the Porsche, and unfortunately for him, he's gonna be dropping all the way down to last place if he didn't pick up any damage, as you can see now on the replay.
Burkhalter, who is running up in about the 2nd position or 3rd position at the time of this incident, with a problem there up at Moss Corner. We've seen a couple of drivers get in trouble at this point of the racetrack in the past, and he got way on the brakes and looked as though he was trying not to run into the back of Charlie Bass, and he caught the front end of that curbing that protects the inside of the racetrack from the grass line, and it launched him up into the air, as you mentioned, JP, and sent him around. Also, there might have been some slight contact by Sean Knight as he was trying to get by on the outside of the spinning car, so there might be a little bit of damage there to Knight's machine, and all that tussling has given Christopher Bailey a 2.5+ second advantage, and we'll call it a 2-second advantage over Charlie Bass, and we have a new 3rd place runner in Trevor Hill.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like Christopher Bailey might be on for a win. Obviously, only still 53 minutes to go, but you know, if he stays in the front, we know he can be competitive, and we know he can be consistent. That's the most important part of the race. And as you can see now, Trevor Hill looks like he's trying to fend off the BMW right behind him of Sean Knight. He looks like he got a decent exit. The BMW might not be a threat. And well, we do have battles all throughout the grid. We have a battle for P4, and we also do have the 2 championship contenders on the beneficiary class battling for P10. Theo Brosma trying to apply pressure on his championship rival. But as you can see now, the BMW might be looking down the outside of turn 8, or no, he looks like he backed off the position. But Theo Brosma absolutely piling on the pressure on Hunter Reeve, trying to knock off a bad weekend last time around at Gilles Villeneuve.
And it looks as though it might be a problem here for Caleb Belden, another one of the beneficiaries in the field who had an off-track excursion. And we're going to go back and try to take a look at what happened to Belden, who was 4th in the beneficiary point standings coming into tonight's race. Belden here looks as though, actually we're taking a look here at Jason Leach, is one of the open competitors in the field. This is coming through Moss Corner yet again, which has been a bit of a bugaboo so far for these competitors. And there was a car already spun sideways. That was Caleb Belden there, who went around backwards in Moss Corner through the exit of that pair of right-handed turns. And that is why Belden had fallen off the pace just a little bit. One of the incredible things about this series is some of the stories behind that of these beneficiaries. And Belden has an incredible story in his own right. After serving in the U.S. Military Marine Corps from 2009 up till 2018, Caleb, who here not having the best of moments after catching some of the curbing, but Caleb Belden, a former Marine Raider and infantry officer, and during his service, he was deployed multiple times to Southeast Asia, Korea, and Afghanistan while serving in the Marines. He has seen a lot and done a lot, and he got involved in auto racing at just 16 years old. So we've got more problems here for Trevor Hill, who was running in 3rd position on the racetrack. That's coming down the hill to what looks like turn 4 in the approach to Moss Corner. And problems starting to plague. Look out! Big hit there as he pulls right out in front of traffic, and Hill pounds the wall and collects another competitor.
Yeah, Trevor Hill actually lost the car on turn 9. I was just looking at the replay. He had big damage on his Porsche and chose not to pit. And then unfortunately, he just lost the car on the exit of turn 2. And as soon as he came back, Callum Belden was unfortunately taking the race line and had absolutely nowhere to go. As you can see there, now big damage. The car doesn't have a rear window, doesn't have the spoiler, just loses the back end. He does well on the first part of the rejoin. He just wades back, he engages reverse, trying to get the car lined up. But on the second part, unfortunately, I'm not pretty sure if he just misread the relative box, but you can see just came back on the racing line, and Callum Belden had absolutely nowhere to go and absolutely slammed the rear end of the Porsche.
And what a heartbreaker for Belden, as we were just talking about his service and all that he's done, and also his involvement in motorsports. He's actually currently a driver and board member for the Resilience Racing Foundation, which is a veteran-led nonprofit committee for advancing adaptive hand control technologies and harnessing the profound benefits of motorsports therapy for disabled veterans through competitive racing. One of the backbones and foundations of this series, and unfortunately, round number 5 is not going the way that he would have hoped for. Still a long way to go, but he's going to have to pit to try to get some repairs made to that car after back-to-back bad luck incidents here plaguing Belden here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. So while Belden hits the pit area, we'll reset here and focus on some of the drivers who are still racing for a position within the top 5. Sean Knight has had a topsy-turvy night, and we're only 11 minutes into this race, but Knight was your outside pole sitter, lost the lead, or in fact lost second spot momentarily. He's now fallen back another position to Tyler Langenberg, who's up to third. So Knight is running in fourth, and he's being chased down by Rodney Campbell right now, who currently rounds out your top 5.
Yeah, Tyler Langenberg putting in a comeback race. Unfortunately, he qualified on P7, but he already finds himself up in third position on the overall podium. And obviously being under pressure from Sean Knight and also from Rodney Campbell right behind him. So, you know, this is turning out to be a very interesting race. We have to wait and see if Tyler Langenberg has the pace to maybe challenge Charlie Bass for the Pro Class win, because Christopher Bailey just seems to be on a class of his own tonight. 4 seconds already ahead of Charlie Bass, and absolutely class of the field performance from Christopher Bailey.
Bailey doing a great job at the head of the pack and has pretty much not been under any pressure since the word go. I mean, he had the pole in qualifying, got a great jump into turn number 1, and pretty much out on just another, we'll call it a Tuesday night drive. However, this one happens to be one of the most historic venues north of the border, and Bailey is doing everything possible. And I mean, you can even see it there, JP. Not catching the curbing too much there on the exit of White's Corner at turn 10, not hitting it too much there as he comes back up onto the main straightaway. I mean, it looks as though that Bailey's operating under similar fashion that you would see artificial intelligence in some of these sim racing platforms that they offer such a service. And he's pretty much on rails for the time being, but it's a long way to go in this race, and eventually lap traffic could become a bit of a factor. There could be some additional variables that come into play, but Bailey is certainly riding that wave of momentum that he had with him 1 week ago at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and could be en route to his second consecutive overall victory, along with what could be his 4th win when it comes to the open category in 2021.
Yeah, exactly. As we know in racing, the race is only done when the checker flag drops as soon as you cross the line. But you know, if he can pull a big gap, traffic will not be a major factor on his race. He just has to be cautious. Obviously, every single driver is probably going to lose time on the traffic, but if you have a big gap, you can afford to lose more time. But look at this train that we're looking now, a massive battle for position, starting off in David Levine trying to actually fend off Brendan Agerchik, Shane Hunter, Hunter Reeve, Theo Brosema, and Travis Hill. So we do have an absolute massive train of cars, all fighting for essentially P6 on the race. So this could definitely shake up the championship in one way or the other. We do have obviously Hunter Reeve and Theo Brosema who are fighting for the championship in the beneficiary class. So I'm sure this battle will be one to keep an eye out for.
Looking out the back of David Levine's car, one of the pros in the field who's under heavy pressure from behind by a driver trying to make his way up through the pack in Ergacek. And he's going to try to make that move there down in turn number 1. Levine runs a little bit wide. Ergacek has a look. Levine tries to defend. They stack up a little bit. That's going to give an opportunity for Hunter to have a peek through on the outside. And this battle does continue to intensify, and was a little bit surprised to see how far back Egerchek actually ended up coming to the green flag. Not the best of qualifying runs for Egerchek so far this season. that we would expect for him after he has had success so far in 2021. Winner back at Road America, also captured top honors at Daytona. Now trying to work his way up through the pack, up to 7th, and looking for more, but he's yet to find a way through Levine, who holds 6th.
Yeah, looks like David Levine is feeling the pressure. He's missing a few apexes here and there, unfortunately losing time as well to the cars ahead of him. And I'm sure Brandon Egerchik definitely wants to get past the BMW. He's on the slipstream. Now, is he close enough to try to brave around the outside? Is Levine actually gonna go defensive? Yeah, it looks like Brandon's not gonna be diving down the inside, but as you can see there, Brandon's sacrificing the first apex to hit the second one to line himself up for turns 9 and 10. But looks like Brandon is slowly but surely applying more pressure, getting closer and closer, and we might be seeing a move here being done on the next few laps.
And right now, Egerchik is one of the biggest movers in the top 10. Started 10th up to 7th, looking for more. That's not the same story being told by a number of the drivers. Only exception is the driver who rounds out your podium right now, Tyler Langenberg. He's picked up 4 spots since the drop of the green 15 minutes ago. But Egerchik being very patient with that of Levine, and keep in mind that these drivers are both identified in the pro category, so they're trying to be respectful to one another for sure, but you can tell by the freight train of cars that has started to accumulate behind Egerchik that he's going to have to go. The gap to the car that is up ahead of Levine, all the way up to Campbell, who is 5th, it's starting to grow, and the pressure is beginning to intensify from behind for the likes of Shane Hunter and Hunter Reeve, who right now has the lead for the beneficiaries at this point in the race. But as you mentioned earlier, JP, Theo Broselma is not letting him get away, as that battle for lead in class for the beneficiaries remains tight.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Theo wants to put last week's race behind him, because obviously Hunter Reeve had an absolutely fantastic race, finishing P4 overall. Theo Brosma unfortunately finished P12, if I'm not mistaken, overall, so definitely not the greatest. Obviously Hunter Reeve got a massive boost in points due to that result, but you know, the championship gap is close between them. I'm pretty sure it's only 9 points between them, so you know, if Theo Brosma sizes up his opportunity, I'm sure he will take it, because every single point will count. As now we're going to take a look at a replay. It looks like some incident happened, and unfortunately we missed it. Let's just take a look.
And that was Andrew Cardinale, who Moss corner bites again through turn 5. The pair of right-handers. Here he is giving chase to another competitor. Swings out a little bit wide. That's exactly what we saw happen to what looked to be Caleb Belden, who went around the same part of the racetrack. Heads up move there by Cardinale to back up out of the way and not get T-boned, but that's an incident for Cardinale, and that will cost him a couple of spots in the process. As we come back up here to some of our live coverage, and look at the lead that Christopher Bailey has been able to build up. 7 seconds. Oftentimes in oval racing, they use the term on the straightaway by himself. When you could say that about the Mario Andretti straightaway at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, that's saying something. That means you got him covered by a long ways. In this case, 7 seconds in arrears is that of Charlie Bass, who is yet to have been able to find an extra gear to try to close up that margin that continues to grow. But the only variable that may lie ahead for that of Bailey, although it's not going to be soon, could be that of lap traffic at some point in this race. And Bass and Langenberg continue to round out your podium. But right now, Bailey's having a great run at the front of the pack. And Moss Corner's got another one. This time it's Jason Leach, another one of the open competitors who goes around in similar fashion to what we saw happen to Belden and Cardinale.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not going to be the first time, nor the last. We're going to see some drivers unfortunately overshooting by just a tiny bit on Moss Corner. And as soon as you dip a wheel on the dirt, you're just going to be spinning around. And unfortunately, that's another driver caught within 1 lap of Andrew's unfortunate incident. But looks like no damage is done, so that's good. You know, he can just come straight back and try to fight for position. And well, the fights keep on providing. We do still have the absolute massive fight for P6. And you know, every single driver is just pushing to the absolute limit right now. David Levine is still under pressure, closer than ever. Hunter Reeve and Shane Hunter are also trying to pounce, maybe on a move, but you know, looks like David Levine, even though he's feeling the pressure, he's not cracking under it.
coming up on about the 1/3 mark of this event here, the 5th race of the 2021 Winter League Season 2 for the Operation eMotorsport Series here on Pit Stop TV. And there has been trouble aplenty. This time it is Glenn Gray who has gone around. He's going to try to get that number 45 righted here. And you see Recaro on the back bumper of his machine. Gray's going to pull out here and just miss the barrier while trying to get it righted. Probably the most difficult thing to do when you have a problem on the track as tight as that of Canadian Tire Motorsport Park is when you blend back up into traffic. You don't want to take out any other competitor, as we've seen already happen once here tonight. And it looked as though that Gray's problem happened coming through turn number 2. Now, while we hit this point of the race, we go back up here and take a look at Christopher Bailey. Let's give this opportunity to thank some of the major partners that are with the series, Operation eMotorsport, and all that they are about. And we mentioned earlier our friends at Recaro Automotive. And whether it is on the track or iRacing, Recaro Automotive is all about making driving safer, more comfortable, and more controlled. Driving experience that you could really feel. Recaro Automotive puts people first every time. And an ergonomic sitting position means a comfortable position. So with perfect seat contours and innovative features that support your body, Recaro Automotive makes driving fun, be it on the road or the racetrack. Recaro Automotive performance seats are more than just a set of components. They execute innovation, quality, premium materials, craftsmanship, and a genuine passion for cars. Recaro Automotive, proud sponsor of Operation Motorsports in iRacing. Also, we want to thank Mobile One for them stepping up for this Winter League as well. And since day one, Mobile One advanced synthetic motor oils have been part of every Corvette racing win, and that tradition continues with the new mid-engine Corvette C8R. Remember, Mobile One is the world's leading synthetic motor oil brand and also a proud partner with Operation eMotorsport. And it is thanks to those partners that we are able to have this series in place that offers up so many incredible stories and the initiative behind it, taking a number of these beneficiaries and veterans who sacrifice so much for the sake of their respective country and now putting them in a world that is, you know, not nearly as intense, not nearly as meaningful, but certainly, hopefully, offers up the same amount of camaraderie that they were able to experience back in their time of service, and that is being involved in the world of motorsport. And keep in mind that the Operation Motorsport agenda is not strictly destined to esports and eMotorsports. For more information, visit their website, operationmotorsport.org. Well, with that, JP, we've got racing going on and problems for the leader. Chris Bailey appears to have had an issue here, and he has fallen way back, and that may have been Moss Corner grabbing another one.
Yeah, looks like it is, but on a different part of Moss Corner. No, on the exact same. So we're just seeing it's so dangerous. Not even the leader with nearly 10-second lead can avoid. As you can see here, just absolutely nailing turn 3, going absolutely perfect on turn 4, but just looks like he just got a bit of slipstream, maybe just carrying a bit of extra speed. He just turns into Moss Corner 5A and unfortunately just carries a bit too much speed, just goes out wide and unfortunately just does a spinneroo essentially. But luckily for him, he had such a big gap, he can easily just do essentially a 3-point turn, not a 3-point turn. He just can come back to the circuit and still keep up his, looks like his first place. No, he dropped all the way down into 4th. So definitely not ideal. We're definitely going to be seeing now Christopher Bailey on a maximum attack to make sure he grabs that first place back. But wow, that's a surprise for the leader.
Well, if you're Caleb Belden, if you're Andrew Cardinale, and if you're Jason Leach, you now watch the driver who's been quickest so far here tonight have the same type of issue with dipping the left side tires off through what they call 5B at this sector of the racetrack and spin out of the race lead. That's how difficult Moss Corner can be. And we are seeing multiple drivers have problems there, including Christopher Bailey, who has spun out of the top spot, and as JP mentioned, has fallen back to 4th, giving the lead to Charlie Bass. And that's shaken up the running order in big capacity here, as we're about 7 minutes shy of halfway. And Moss Corner is going to continue to lurk, and its hit list may continue to grow throughout the night, with Bailey now in a bit of a rebound position. First time he's been behind any other competitor here all night long, and he's got the car in front of him that he started alongside of when they came down for the green and Sean Knight as they start to navigate their way through a couple of lap cars, with Langenberg being the first to dip inside the lap traffic in 1.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's going to be... it's going to be interesting to see how Christopher Bailey is going to react. Obviously, now he has to fight with traffic, essentially. Obviously, for position at the same time, because as soon as the green flag dropped, he had absolutely no challenge whatsoever from any driver. But now, obviously, he has to learn from the other drivers, you know, checking where he's faster, where is a possible move, and where he can size the opportunity. Looks like he is faster through turn 10, but not close enough to try and make a move down into turn 1. Now as they approach left traffic, this could be an opportunity if he can get the right exit, and looks like he might be close enough to try and put the nose down into turn 2. Is he going to be brave enough? Looks like no, the number 65 has him covered. So this is going to be an interesting battle. Tyler Langenberg is definitely going to be slowing them down a bit, but looks like they're all catching up to Charlie Bass.
So as they run up here for this battle for about second on back, Bailey looking outside, almost caught the grass there as they come through this right-handed corner that leads him up towards the far side of the racetrack. We're not going to go anywhere. We're going to keep an eye on this battle, but we are going to step aside momentarily for a quick message from Cody Reniker.
I found out about Operation Motorsports through the program I'm in with the military. They're helping me transition into the civilian life, and this was a great way for me to take my passion and see what it's like on the high-performance side. I'm here to pick up what I can learn from them so that I can use it with my future careers being an automotive mechanic. This is a great experience whether you're just a at-home kind of person working on your car, changing oils or stuff like that, or wanting to go into the high-performance side. I'm loving how the team's taking me in and really showing me everything. It'll show you just about everything you need to know from the driver's standpoint to the tire changing.
One of the most special things about this series are the stories and the people behind it, and that is just another one of the examples about what Operation Motorsport and what this Operation eMotorsport League is all about. And right now we are seeing a fierce battle between a couple of pro and open drivers, including Christopher Bailey, who led the opening part of this race. This is a 4-car freight train for second on back, while Charlie Bass has the advantage at the front of the pack for the time being, about 4 seconds ahead of this intense fight for position. And we're about 4 minutes shy of halfway, just under that, I would say, with a potential pit stop looming. And you see the gap back there to virtually nobody, but they're not that far back, is that fight for second that is currently held up by Langenberg with Sean Knight, Bailey, and Campbell, your top 5, and the highest running beneficiary in the field is Hunter Reeve, who comes into the night in really good standing, literally in the point standings as your championship point leader. He is currently running 7th overall, but he is first out of the beneficiaries. He's got a little bit of breathing room over his next pursuer in John Winker. While the battle has settled down a little bit for a second spot, we talked about the turn here that Tyler Langenberg is coming through, Moss Corner. We have an interesting opportunity to have an in-race reporter here tonight, so I want to turn it over to Andrew Cardinale, who has had a little bit of trouble there in Moss Corner. And Andrew, if you can hear us, tell us a little bit about what makes that corner, that double right-handed sector that they dub 5A, 5B with the exit being 5C. Why are we seeing so many drivers with so many different variances of experience have trouble there?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. Well, I'm into turn 2 right now. I'll be into 5 here in a moment. You guys take the onboard for that, but it's slick. You're coming really, really fast down turn 4, and suddenly you're on the binders. And in these GT4 cars, of course, you've got ABS, so it just kind of chatters the ABS all the way into the corner. And Emerson, I'm coming up to 4 now, so you can take the onboard for it. It is just so tough to push into this corner, of course, maximize time into the corner, but not over push it. And I just might over push it here. I've done it 2 or 3 times already. You got to clip that curb, and then you just got to get right up to the edge of the racetrack and cut back in. It is a really, really tough sequence of corners. You see troubles in IMSA, you see troubles in the NASCAR Truck Series. It's really, really tough here tonight, guys. And oh my, I can tell you one thing for sure as well. I need a whole lot more practice for Sonoma in a week. This is a lot of fun racing with these guys. I also want to mention Kurt Giddenkoff. He's a new driver out here, or Giddenkoff rather, in the 81 car. Now, he's had some troubles getting up to speed with these guys, and he still is. But I want to say Kurt's been super respectful over the radio, the most respectful of anybody in this session. Everybody's here to have a great time. he actually let us all know over the driver's channel a few moments ago that he's been part of raising a charity stream during this race. Now, I don't know what Twitch stream that was. I didn't exactly catch which charity that was for. All I heard was over $1,000 raised, and that's huge no matter what charity it's for. That is big when it comes down to raising dollars here on iRacing, and a big shout out goes out to that driver of the number 81 car.
That's absolutely incredible, and I guess totally encompasses what this series is all about. And Andrew, before we let you get back to work there behind the seat of that race car, we're close to halfway. We're keeping our eye on an incredible battle for second place that is happening right here, but pit stop's going to be looming. I don't want you to show your full hand because you are a competitor here tonight, but can you give us a range as to when maybe we may see some of those stops, or how varying are these strategies going to be, you think?
I think the big thing, there's kind of two options, I feel like, from a driver right now. You can split it right in half, pit at 30 minutes if you're lucky enough to come around to the pits right at that mark. It looks like I will be around there, or just run it out until it's dry. And with the fuel limit, there isn't too much variance. So it looks like I'll have 6 or so laps in between exactly halfway and pitting when my fuel runs out. Oh, we've got a car off in 5. Now, I've done a lot of multitasking in my day. I've never had to drive and call a race before, but it looks like we're adding that to my resume. I didn't catch who that was, but that was very, very close. And that's the other thing, trying to get back onto the racetrack, and I've heard you talk about it so far tonight, Eric. Getting back on the racetrack out of 5 is really, really tough. Thankfully, you're able to look straight at, as we've got another car off, you're able to look straight at the field as they're coming at you as you're spun off. Brock Hogan having problems. Boy, like the rest of us tonight. But it's such a challenge to get back on the racetrack. You saw Callum Belden get caught up in a couple of problems as well. In fact, that was just behind me and just in front of me. A whole lot of stuff happened there at the start. But to answer your question more directly, Eric, I think it's really just going to come down to running these tanks out. I think just go as far as you can, and then pit. You might have a little bit of difference, but it's not like we're taking tires. These tires can go well past the 1 hour mark. We're really not worried about the pit strategy too much. It's more so executing on the pit lane. That's the biggest pit strategy there is in these races, is just making sure you get in and out quickly. And it's actually a bit of a late, spot where the cone is in the pit lane, and the pit lane speed takes over, so you can really push into the pit lane, and that's where a lot of your time is either going to be gained or lost on the guys you're racing. When we start taking pit stops here, you guys will see, if we take an onboard, there's yellow cones that are a ways past the bend that you think is pit entries. We got Hunter Reeve in the pit lane. You can really maximize a lot of time in and out as well. It's a long access road on the inside of that wall, and you can certainly maximize or minimize your time gained and lost through that bend.
Andrew Cardinale IV, you never cease to amaze me, man. Not sure how you're able to do this, but we're going to let you get back to focusing to the task at hand, currently running an 18 spot, and we want you to make it the rest of the way, but if things don't work out, come on back and join us for the finish of this one. It's going to be a thriller. Good luck, bud.
Oh, believe me, I've got to go run Jason Leach down for 17th. We might be battling for the midfield, but every position counts.
And we'll do our best to keep our eye on it. Good luck the rest of the way, buddy. Andrew Cardinale IV, our in-race reporter here tonight. And as he mentioned, we're just past that halfway point. He called his shot, and we're starting to see it come to fruition. Rodney Campbell, one of the first drivers in the top 5. As he mentioned earlier, we saw Hunter Reeve, the beneficiary leader, come to the pits. Now Campbell, one of the front runners here in the overall and one of the front runners for the Opens, is one of the first cars to dive to the pit lane, while Chris Bailey has gotten around a couple of competitors on track, one of which being Tyler Langenberg, who's dropped 2 spots. Sean Knight is back up into 3rd, and Bailey is your runner-up and trying to close up on Charlie Bass, with pit stops looming for the front runners. JP, it's starting to get intense at the front.
Yeah, exactly. Christopher Bailey is on absolutely full send mode. He was nearly a second quicker last lap than Charlie Bass. He's definitely pushing it. He got through Sean Knight, if I'm not mistaken, on turn 3 laps ago, and then on last lap he just went around the outside of Tyler Langenberg and absolutely got that move nailed. And right now he's obviously chasing down, I'm pretty sure that is Callum Belden, sorry. So Callum Belden got the car fixed. He's gonna let Christopher Bailey by, so that's good. So he's right at turn 8. He's definitely pushing in. I guess in just 2 or 3 lap times we're going to be seeing a battle for the lead, and I'm sure Christopher Bailey's absolutely going to send it so he can get a decent gap before the pit window closes.
One of the items that we always talk about when it comes down to these style races and these style events is your pit strategy. Whether you want to go for the undercut, the overcut perhaps, as you see Jason Leach coming off the pit lane here. He's elected to make his stop already, and the running order is going to be jumbled up big time as these stops start to ensue. But if you're somebody like a Christopher Bailey, I have to wonder what your strategy is. You see that you're closing the gap on Charlie Bass for the race lead, but do you want to follow him down the pit lane even if you can go another lap? Do you have a set time frame you want to come down to make sure that you get your full load of fuel to get to the finish, or maybe not necessarily a full load of fuel, but enough fuel to get you to the finish line? I'm not quite sure what Bailey's agenda is going to be, but right now it is in Bass's hands. But that gap at the front is closing quickly as they come through Moss Corner. How about the top 4 cars all being separated by less than 0.4 of a second? And we'll see if they elect to make their way down the pit lane. Here's Travis Hill, who had a good run going earlier in the race. He's now onto the pit lane for service, but Bass is the blue and white car. Here's Bailey, the gray car, coming up the Andretti straightaway. There is lap traffic ahead. That could check Bass up a little bit here as he navigates his way by cleanly through the sweeping corner. Bailey tries to close up behind. Could this be the opportunity to duck onto the pit lane for Bass? Looks like he's going to stay out another lap. He may be taking that alternative option, JP. He may try to run that tank dry.
Yeah, obviously, if you're probably in the front, you're just going to be taking a look at traffic, seeing if there's a lot of traffic close by. You're going to be losing a lot of time, so it might as well pit. But obviously, these guys, you know, as soon as you run the tank dry, your car is closest to qualifying trim because you're just low fuel, low weight. The tires are heated up. Obviously, they might be a bit wear down. Obviously, as Andrew said, they can easily go with 1 hour. But, you know, with the car being as light as it is, you know, just 1 lap, 2 laps of fuel, you're absolutely just going to full send it, just as Christopher Bailey is doing, is absolutely piling on the pressure for Charlie Bass. And I'm not sure if it's a matter of it's a matter of when he's going to be taking over the lead. We saw him getting very loose on the exit of 5B. Now, as always, we do have another car spun around the exit of 5B. It's Travis Hill, the pro driver. So another pro driver getting caught on the exit. He's going to have to wait for the entire field to pretty much go by. And Christopher Bailey still in the slipstream. Is he going to be braving around the outside or the inside? Is Charlie Bass going to be defending? Only time will tell as they head into turn 8.
And Eric, if I may cut in for a moment, one other thing we were able to consider as drivers is how much fuel we want to take at the start. I even looked at it and thought about leaving it a bit light to start this race, be a little bit faster on the racetrack and take a full tank then at the stop. It's an option. That might be why we see guys coming in so much earlier than some of us others that are sticking it out to the end of our tanks.
That's a very, very good point, Andrew Cardinale IV. And we are obviously going to keep our eyes on that as well. And again, just ultra impressed by how you're able to multitask to this capacity during this competition here as we are approaching the final third of this event. 60 minutes in distance for round 5 of the 2021 Winter League Season 2, and this is your battle for the overall win. Charlie Bass, the pro driver. Bailey trying to send it up the inside, one of the open competitors in the field, and he's got the pass made as they round their way through the right-hander here at turn number 3 at Quebec Corner. Christopher Bailey back to the point after losing the lead while spinning at this point of the racetrack just about 20 minutes ago. He comes through Moss Corner trying to keep that car off the grass on the exit on driver's left, and he is going to try to open up a bit of a gap here and see if he can leave Bass behind with the eventual pit stop for fuel coming.
That was an absolutely textbook move. He just got a great run out of turn 2, just carrying so much more speed, and then just absolutely sent it on the inside of turn 3. Got the move done. Nothing Charlie Bass could do, and looks like now he's just gonna have to wait and see if Charlie can actually keep up with Christopher at this moment in time. Maybe just save, maybe even just a dash of fuel to try and close up the gap on the pit lane. Just gonna, time will tell. Looks like both drivers are still sticking out. Looks like they're gonna be pitting soon, but they're both gonna be running the tank dry.
So Bailey, Bass, Langenberg, Sean Knight. We have a car coming in behind. Looks like that might be Shane Hunter, who is elected to dive to the pit area. It is another one of the pros. And also, take a look at the bottom of the top 10. Hunter Reeve. We mentioned he was the leader in the beneficiaries. He has already come down for his service, and Hunter Reeve is back out in this race and already back up to the top 10. I think he was running about 7th at the time of his pit stop for service. So we'll see how this strategy pans out for Reeve on the bigger picture, but it's allowing him to open up a bit of an advantage over his next running driver in this competition for the beneficiaries in Thea Broselma. Also, we have another beneficiary who's in lockstep formation there, and John Winkert. So that fight for the beneficiary win may go down to the wire. And Brosema is going to have a chance to try to close it up here. There's Winker coming down the Andretti straightaway, and here's Brosema. Brosema, I should say, my apologies, trying to chase down Reeve for the win in class there for the beneficiaries with about 21 minutes to go. Bailey, Bass, Langenberg all remain on track. They've yet to come down for service.
Yeah, looks like when we had the battle for P6, looks like Hunter Reeve actually got through them all. But unfortunately, Theo Brosema unfortunately got hanging back and unfortunately lost quite a bit of time to his rival. Currently, you're now sitting around 7 seconds back. Definitely a gap that can be pulled back. Obviously, no driver is immune to mistakes. We saw even the leader going off at turn 5. As now Christopher Bailey looks like he went on pit road. Yes, Christopher Bailey on pit road right now. So this could shake up a few things. Charlie Bass and Tyler Langenberg both stayed out.
So we believe that we have Bailey on the pit lane, and we will try to see what ended up happening here with Bailey. So Bailey, Bass, Langenberg, Knight, Campbell, currently shown as your top 5.
And I could say Chris Bailey did just pit. Also, Eric, I'm hearing on my radio, 1 lap of fuel left. I'm not sure if I'm actually going to have a lap going by the pit stops right here, but it's crunch time. We all got to pit right here.
So we are waiting here to see how this all pans out. There's Bailey. We saw momentarily there as they were coming through the pit lane. Keeping eyes on our timing and scoring ticker to see how these stops will progress. We mentioned a little bit about the story that involves Hunter Reeve and the driver who's currently heading up our beneficiary point standings and one of the highest running drivers in the beneficiaries in this race. And we like to tell the story about some of these competitors and how they got involved in the Operation eMotorsport series. And Reeve is somebody who was a sergeant in the U.S. Army. He was a crew chief from 2011 through 2017 before being medically discharged, but throughout his life, Hunter has been a racing fan and race karts. When he was, to put it bluntly, racing has just been something I've always loved. So he's involved in the race here tonight, and it's interesting to see how this race pans out with Reeve. And we'll see where he ends up here in this session. Right now it is Bass, Langenberg, and Bailey.
Yeah, Hunter Reeve actually is on a great streak. It's just so nice to see him doing so well on the latest few races. You know, obviously last week he did an absolutely perfect race, finishing P4. He's just on a great streak, and right now he's just all the way. He's ahead of his rival, which is really important. But he's also in the top 10 overall position, which is really nice to see. You know, a beneficiary driver such high up, battling with pro drivers as well, and actually getting past him. So that is really, really interesting to see. Really nice to see. But also what is really interesting to see is Charlie Bass got an absolute big gap to Christopher Bailey after the round of pit stops. I'd say he's around 2.5 seconds ahead of Christopher Bailey at this moment in time. So it looks like the strategy for the BMW driver was a bit different, a bit quicker, and probably a bit more efficient than the strategy for the Porsche driver.
Yeah, the strategy is certainly unfolding on a number of capacities for some of these drivers as we start to wind this race down. And judging by timing and scoring and how these drivers are running, Bass still holding that lead over Bailey, and Bass still yet to come to the pit lane for the time being. And it looks as though this race is now down in the final 15 minutes or so. So fuel load is going to play a huge role in who captures top honors in this event. Trying to work our way through the pack as they run now. Reeve has some breathing room in the beneficiary position. He's got 2 cars between himself and Theo Brosema, who is currently the second driver in class, just outside the top 10. Reeve is 8th overall. Brosema is 11th. And it's Bass, Langenberg, Bailey. But keep in mind the top 2 have yet to pit, although Langenberg is on the pit lane now. It looks as though Bass may have made his stop. Let's see where he cycles out as this battle for the lead continues now with Bass under fire from Bailey. Bass is going to be able to have the lead for the time being by about 1 second, with Bailey trying to chase.
And Eric, a big part of this win is going to come down to who takes how much fuel. I can tell you from my standpoint, I think about 7 gallons. I only needed about 6 to go to the end, and that's in the BMW as I run off track in 5. There goes Jason Leach on by. I'm not a professional, but it's going to come down largely to how much fuel each of these drivers take. That's going to decide a lot of positions on this racetrack. And in fact, it got me out ahead of Jason Leach at first. I was 4 or 5 seconds back. That's the example of the big kind of difference this can make. It's going to be very, very important tonight and the rest of the season. So this is a great way for us to learn a whole lot more about how all of these races go.
Looks like the BMW actually might be taking less fuel then, because as you said, Andrew, you just came out ahead of Jason Leach, who was driving the Porsche, and the exact same thing happened to Charlie Bass. He was behind Christopher Bailey, came out around 2.5, I'd say 2.5 seconds ahead of Christopher Bailey, and right now Christopher Bailey pretty much reeled him in. He's already on the bumper, but looks like the fuel loads from the cars were different. Looks like the BMW might be a bit better off on fuel economy, as looks like we do have a traffic jam. Christopher Bailey is going to be looking on the inside, but we do have a left car looking on the inside of Christopher Bailey as well. That is Tim Bernard looking on the inside of Christopher Bailey, trying to get a lap back. Unfortunately, it's going to be on the outside of turn 2, but we do have a bit of a traffic jam here, and traffic management could cost the race for either of these drivers.
Yeah, what you guys just missed was Tim Bernard very sideways in 10. I'm not sure how I missed it. I'm now the car right in front of Bass. I'm trying to battle Winker and Matthews ahead of me. It was a logjam, and now we've got to deal with these guys battling. Oh, boy.
So with that, we got the battle for the lead shaping up here, coming up to Moss Corner. We want to apologize for the technical difficulties that we had a couple of laps ago. Bailey gives a shot to Bass there coming through 5, and he's trapped behind the lap car. Here comes Bailey with a look for the lead off 5. Down the edge, ready straight away, and he'll tuck back in line.
Charlie Bass definitely going to go defensive. He took a bit of slipstream from Andrew to try and get the speed back. It looks like that worked a bit, but Christopher Bailey's on the bumper, pretty much pushing Charlie Bass. But Charlie's going to be giving out the inside line. Is he? No, he's going to be braver on the brakes. He's going to be sacrificing the first apex. Christopher Bailey's going to be going on the inside of turn 9. Now, sorry, turn 8, essentially. The double apex is going to be holding around the outside of turn 9. Now they're going to be going side by side through turn 10. We've seen this happen. Not ending well on NASCAR races, but luckily for both of these drivers, they're very clean. And it looks like Charlie Bass running the outside line just got the better momentum, and I guess Andrew just got the perfect row seat to watch that battle.
I feel like I could sit here and commentate the entire thing, JP. This is crazy watching these guys battle from this seat. This is a real treat watching these guys go at it from track level. Emerson, take a shot here. This is good stuff watching these guys go at it. We're into Quebec Corner now. We've got some lap cars, well, the guys I'm racing, but lap cars are the leaders battling up ahead. That's Chris Matthews and Brian Winker. This is really tough to work lap traffic from both seats as Bailey up the inside of turn 4 sends it. Barely parks it there in Charlie's nose, and now nose to tail. Oh my gosh, Tim Bernard, hello, into Moss Corner. This is going to be tough. Slipstream can be very important down the Mario Andretti straightaway.
Bailey to the point. Bass now with opportunity to try to close up. A little bit of lap traffic up ahead of him here. And you see Bailey trying to flash the lights to warn these drivers that he is coming and coming fast. What a comeback. After having a 7-second lead at the beginning of this race, spinning out in Moss Corner, battling his way back up towards the top spot, took the lead away from Bass before the pit stops, lost the lead after the exchanges on the pit lane, and has gotten back around Bass to have the lead here with 13.5 minutes remaining, and they are 2 seconds clear of Tyler Langenberg, who runs third, and thus far Bailey is having a much better time getting through some of the lap cars than that of Charlie Bass, who runs in second. Could it be back-to-back wins for the overall, for the open categories? Bash looking for his first win as a pro driver in 2021 Winter Series competition, and he's got some work to do to try to close up that gap because Bailey is starting to set sail.
Yeah, exactly. Bailey's just on full cinema. He got the lead, but it looks like he just wants to build a gap, you know, to get as big as possible. And, you know, he's just on full send on lap cars, you know, is just looking at him through turn 1, pretty much pushing the lap car. Now he's heading obviously into turn 5. He's definitely going to be trying to avoid the mistake that he did on the first part of the racetrack, And, well, looks like he might be set for the race, but obviously we still have a lot of racing laps. We still have, I guess, at least 13 laps, 14 laps to go. No, sorry, 11 laps to go. And, well, this could be very interesting. Obviously, he can be caught in traffic. He can make a mistake, and Charlie Bass is definitely close enough to capitalize on anything that happens.
So, as we ride on board
here... just as I say that, looks like Christopher Bailey went off in turn 8. He just overshot the corner, and Well, it looks like he just kept the lead, but Charlie Bass is now right on his bumper once again.
So another mistake by Bailey, and now he slides wide off of turn 10. That's going to give Bass a bit of a run. So look at this, top two back together again. Down to turn number 1. Bailey hugs the bottom of the racetrack through the first corner. Bass catches a little bit more curbing, and Bailey's able to accelerate off the first corner and gap Bass yet again. But you have to wonder, how much is Bailey going to continue to push? It's already bitten him twice. He doesn't want to find himself in the third strike you're out scenario here at the front of the pack. And here's the grander picture. Bailey, overall leader, leader for the Open. Bass, leader for the pros in second, and our leader for the beneficiaries, looking for his 4th win in 5 races, is that of Hunter Reeve, who rides 9th. Through Moss Corner they come, and Bailey still attacking those curbs hot and heavy, JP.
Yeah, it looks like he's still in full send mode. You know, some drivers just feel more comfortable going absolutely for qualifying laps. You know, sometimes if you just pull back a little bit, you might allow yourself to make a mistake or two. Some drivers just don't like that. It looks like Christopher Bailey might be one of them. He, on the last lap, obviously missed the corner, missed the braking point, unfortunately just went wide on turn 8. If that's any other corner, he might be ending up in the wall, but luckily for him, there is asphalt, there is concrete that can grip the tires. Oh, as we do have a car in the wall, just as I mentioned it. Looks like that is
Callum Belden, the 11 car.
Oh, Callum Belden not having the best race, and unfortunately just lost the car on the corner, and unfortunately for him, he just ran out of concrete at that moment in time and unfortunately just slammed the tire barrier.
As we see John Winker around, Eric, I got to interject here because Tyler Langenberg is on his way to these race leaders. I had to let him go. In fact, I said, hey, Tyler, just go in 3, Quebec corner, because if you're quick about it, you can go catch these guys. They are mixing things up, and the 91 is on his way up there.
Langenberg, a driver who is on the move, competes in a number of platforms across the sim, and he's got a number of laps here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And remember, there's a couple of things on the line here. Of course, the overall win, but if he gets up to and by Charlie Bass, he'll have himself a pro victory, and it could in fact be one of his first pro wins of the season. So Langenberg with a lot of motivation out the windshield as he comes through Moss yet again, but the time is starting to tick down as we are coming up on 9.5 minutes to go in this race. And one thing we're starting to notice, lap traffic itself is not the only issue. It's also the fact that you can see lap traffic make major mistakes in front of you. And we've already seen a couple of incidents tonight, which Andrew Cardinale IV has alluded to, with lap traffic rejoining the racing surface and sometimes maybe not being aware of the fact that some of the leaders could be coming. So while Bailey's opened that lead back up to 2+ seconds, Cardinale IV was right, though. Langenberg is trying to catch Bass for second, but Bailey's seen heavy lap traffic again on the main straightaway.
And that's an excellent point that you mentioned, Eric, because target fixation is just as big in real life as it is on a sim racing. If you're just a leader and a left car just makes a mistake, you might just follow him through, you know, just looking at him, just unfortunately just fixating your target. And so it's very important. And just as I mentioned, it looks like we do have another car on the grass. That's Jason Leach. Looks like he just went off in turn 2. Luckily for him, not a single driver follows him, and he just safely comes back on the circuit. But as we were saying, you know, final 8 minutes of the racetrack, everybody's trying to push hard to try and get the final few positions, and mistakes can happen always. We do have another car. Callum Belden once again spun around at the exit of turn 3 and facing the wrong way. Not the ideal race for the beneficiary driver. Definitely one to forget for him.
Belden was one of the victims of a car trying to pull up in front of traffic earlier in the race. This time, though, you see him extend massive courtesy to the field as he gets it righted and will rejoin the pack. Before we turn our attention to the final 8 minutes of this event, let's step aside momentarily and hear a word from Chad Failing.
I'm working on the Porsche GT3 with Park Racing and Volt Racing. I got a phone call from the USO Pathfinder group, and they kind of informed me, and all I heard was cars, Lambos, Porsches, and I was like, yep, good to go. The opportunity that you get just to be able to come out here and actually see these kind of cars, work with teams on hand, and learn. And they don't just say, well, get out of my way and move, and I'll do it. They know. They teach you. That's the favorite part.
So we are looking now at Christopher Bailey, whose lead continues to grow by considerable margins with each passing lap. Lap traffic is certainly going to be the variable, and there has been no shortage of lap traffic over the last 5 laps or so, with Charlie Bass holding down second. You see the gap here to Bass, and the car that is just behind him on the racetrack is that of Tyler Langenberg, who holds third. That will be for the win in the pro category, and also for another podium spot. Now, if we look at the top 10 running order, you also see the name of Hunter Reeve that is back down at about the 9th position, trying to fend off the challenge from Sean Knight. Reeve currently holding that 9th position for the time being, actually picked up that spot a lap ago. And Reeve is doing all that he can to hold on to the beneficiary lead, and he's got some breathing room in the form of 3 cars back to John Winker, who is second in the beneficiary running order and 13th on the overall. So that's your picture as we're coming down to the final 6 minutes. And JP Costa, as we have a look at things here as they unfold, you have to wonder, I think the only thing that may happen to cost Bailey this win is going to be another mistake, and he's made 2 of them already on the night, so a third one may not be out of the question, especially with how hard he's pushing here.
Yeah, exactly. As we see, he's already nearly a 5-second gap. You know, just a few laps ago, he was just battling bumper for bumper with Charlie Bass, and he already has a 5-second gap. So he's definitely pushing. Charlie Bass obviously now thinking about the pressure that he's getting from Tyler Langenberg, but obviously, you know, a mistake can happen. You know, you're just pushing, you do have lap traffic right ahead of you, so anything can happen. Obviously, he has to be careful. He has to take in mind, as he just nearly came into contact with John Winker as he was lapping him. So obviously, he has to take in mind, you know, if it's worth it pushing at this moment in time. Obviously, just 5 minutes to go, probably 3 or 4 laps. Is it worth risking a mistake and losing the lead just for, I guess, show off? No, just putting those lap times, maybe just slow it down a bit and make sure you get to the end might be the most important thing right now.
So as we can see right now, it looks as though we have Bailey, who's lapped all the way up to about the 13th position on the racetrack. He's gotten himself clear with a couple lap cars as a buffer back to Charlie Bass, who is running in second, 4.75 seconds off the leader. And Langenberg's charge up from third has evidently stalled at about 1 second behind that of Bass. And you'd have to look a ways back before you would find the next closest pursuer to that of Langenberg to try to get up on the podium in the form of Shane Hunter. So the leader, though, is heading his way down towards Moss Corner once again, which appears to be the biggest probability of a potential mistake. And we have not seen such a problem by any competitor so far here tonight. I should say we have not seen, or I should not say, let's rewind here. We have not seen that be a perfect corner for that of Bailey at that sector of the racetrack. He's had some bobbles there before, and he is doing his best here to hold a pretty wheel on the exit of turn 5, with the laps continuing to click off here as we wind down this 5th race in the 2021 season, with Bailey leading him up the Andretti straightaway once more.
Yeah, exactly. Bailey pretty much has it in the bag, but looks like we do have a lot of battles happening that, you know, looks like they're just coming under the radar. Oh, it looks like we do have a mistake on the Moss Corner. That's Paul Lindsay now making a move on David Levine. David Levine again feeling the pressure from behind. And Paul Lindsay unfortunately got compromised, and he's going to be under pressure from Hunter Reeves. So the beneficiary driver pushing both pro drivers, for making them run for their money. Right now could be fighting for what it could be as high as P7 overall. So definitely a great race for him, especially because he's just so far ahead of Theo Brosema, his main championship rival. But looks like Hunter Reeve might be trying to make a move on both pro drivers to make sure he guarantees not only vital points for the championship, but a better overall race result tonight.
And as we continue to work here, we do want to apologize again for the technical difficulties that we're having with sending picture out. It appears that this is an iRacing-wide problem. We are doing our best to work through it here before we can get our images back up. We will do the best that we can to try to recite some of the pictures as far as what is happening. And all eyes right now remain on that of Christopher Bailey, with Charlie Bass, Tyler Langenberg running in third, Shane Hunter fourth. Rodney Campbell, one of the first cars to come down the pit lane, is in about the 5th position. And one of the biggest movers in the field, and Brandon Egerchek is up to 6th. 7th is going to be David Levine in the 7th spot. Paul Lindsay, last week's Pro winner, up to 8th. Hunter Reeve, the highest running beneficiary driver, leading that category of cars in 9th. And Sean Knight takes you through your top 10.
Dusty Burkhalter currently finds himself in P11. Rick Hazlitt, the open driver, in P12. The last driver not to be lapped, Travis Hill, is the first driver to be lapped. Looks like we're going to have a battle right here for the 7th position. John Waker, a beneficiary driver, currently on the 2nd place of the class, running in P14. Brian Winker in 15th spot. Chris Matthews on the 16th spot. Andrew Cardinale on the 17th spot. Theo Brosma right behind him on the 18th spot. So definitely not a race. Unfortunately, it looks like he made a mistake during the race. Jason Leach on the 19th spot, and Brock Hogan on the beneficiary is going to be riding off the top 20. As it looks like we do have images back. As you can see now, the battle for P7 between David Levine, Paul Lindsay, and Hunter Reeve.
Yeah, happy to be back up here. Hopefully we stay on here towards the finish. And again, want to remind everybody, we apologize for the technical difficulties. It appears this is on the iRacing side. We'll have more information on that a little bit later on in the broadcast. But for now, our focus shifts to this battle for position. 1 minute to go in this competition here tonight, with Bailey, Bass, Langenberg continuing to be your top 3. Lap traffic still remaining a bit of an issue for some of these drivers as they battle for top 10 spots. But we do know Bailey, the highest running open driver, Bass, the highest running pro driver, and Hunter Reeve, who continues his incredible season for the beneficiaries, running in the 9th spot overall, highest running beneficiary driver on the pack. And the rest of the field will make their way up towards what could be the potential white flag, with Bailey coming through turns 8, 9, and 10 this time through.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like it's going to be the white flag, so definitely a lot of work for some drivers. We do have 3-car trains all around the grid. Shane Hunter currently trying to hold off Rodney Campbell on the 5th spot, and Brendan Egerchik, looks like Rodney Campbell is ready to push the bumper of the BMW, trying to push him through the corner. The number 92 seems to be struggling against the number 62 as the number 92 gets a big tank slapper and is going to be dropping all the way back. Oh, is he letting them both by? Looks like he might be running out of fuel. We're not really sure what happened there, but that's kind of a different approach. We've never seen that before. But looks like Rodney Campbell, now it's going to be his time to fend off the pressure from Brendan Egerchik as both pro drivers go head-to-head.
Well, that battle continues. Christopher Bailey is making his way down towards Moss Corner for the final time. A corner that caught him off guard earlier in this race. The fastest driver in practice and your pole sitter again got up to a 7-second lead and washed it all away there at turn 5 after catching the curbing while approaching lap traffic and losing the back end of the car, and gave up the lead and fell to 4th. He worked his way back up to the top spot on the racetrack before the pit stops, and then after the pit stops came out about 1.5 seconds behind the leader in Charlie Bass. He methodically worked his way up through the pack, had some very close calls while navigating his way through lap traffic, but it looks as though if he can get through one more corner, it's going to be back-to-back success stories for Christopher Bailey, not just for the Open, but for the overall. It's going to be the perfect Canada sweep for Christopher Bailey. He comes to the line and claims round 5 for the Operation eMotorsport Series presented by Recaro. It's Bailey, the overall winner, for the 2nd week in a row. Bass comes home 2nd for the pros, and we got more battling going on here further back throughout the top 10.
Rodney Campbell is going to be winning for the, not winning for the open class, sorry, but looks like Hunter Reeve wins again for the beneficiary class. What a drive for him, putting pressure on both pro drivers. Absolutely class of the field for his class, just putting up a perfect race. But what a race we had. We were expecting a great race, but we got a fantastic race. Definitely a classic and one to watch back once again once it's all over.
So an incredible job by all these drivers and competitors here tonight to put on yet another thriller at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Watching a couple of cars still coming to the checkered flag. Here's John Winker, another one of the beneficiaries in the field. In fact, he's 3rd in points for the beneficiaries. At one point, he was contending for the win in the beneficiary category, but he fell down the running order just a little bit. He's 1 lap down in 15th place, is yet to come to the checkers, as has this driver, Andrew Cardinale IV and Chris Matthews, who had a couple of close calls, but Cardinale's going to be one of the last few to come to the line after he, too, had an interesting night. Seemed to be mired back at about the 18th spot throughout most of this race. That is where he runs now, and he will try to get down there to the checkered flag, while Charlie Bass is parked on track as your winner for the pros. And it is Bailey who has waited on the front straightaway to try to celebrate victory here, his second in a row. And as a matter of fact, it is his fourth on the season for the open class here in competition. Hunter Reeve also capturing his fourth win of the season. This one, though, for the beneficiaries. So we have a lot to unpack here on what was an incredible night of racing action at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. On the overall side of things, second week in a row, it's Christopher Bailey. We've also got Charlie Bass and Hunter Reeve to talk to when we come back here on Pit Stop TV.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Back here at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, where we just wrapped up the Canadian Swing portion of the 2021 Winter League Season 2 for Operation eMotorsport. And if you look at the results that we had back at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve 1 week ago, there's a lot of similarities in more than one way. However, the story was not just so simply to be told throughout the duration of this event from a number of facets, especially when you look at the driver who captured top honors, not only for the open class, but also for the overall for the second week in a row. We're talking, of course, about Christopher Bailey, who captured top honors here tonight, and we are very happy to welcome Christopher Bailey to the broadcast booth. Christopher, second time we've had a conversation of this nature in a row with you having such success, but this race was full of a number of eventful incidents. First off, let's talk about the pace. This is a track you appeared to have perfected once we got ready to go racing. Fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, and out to a healthy lead early in this race. You must have had a very high level of confidence. How much practice did you put into this event on the calendar for tonight?
Overall, I don't have too much practice for tonight in the sim. However, this being my home track and pretty much growing up there, I do have a lot of time on the actual track, so it definitely came in handy tonight.
Now, it wasn't a perfect race by any stretch, but you were able to rebound from some of the incidents. Moss Corner appeared to be the trouble spot all night long. It caught out drivers from varying experience levels and running positions. It didn't seem to matter all that much what you ranked or what class you were in or what car you were in. That was the turn that caught everyone out, and you were no exception. You had a 7-second lead when you went into turn number 5, and all of a sudden you were back and forth. What was going through your mind after that little semi-spin there and having to regroup and charge back up to the pack?
Catch a little bit too much of the curb, and obviously that's why I went for a little bit of a loop. At that point, it was just get my head back in the game and start logging some laps. I didn't take any damage to the car, so at that point, it was just trying to move up further. I knew I had the pace to move back up into the lead, so at that point, it was just no more mistakes from that point forward.
And it looked as though that everything was going to be pretty much on par to what we saw last week. You catch back up to the race leader at Charlie Bass, take the lead away, and then the pit stops happen, and you end up being about a second behind him there. Were you pretty confident that you were going to be able to chase him back down, or was some of that lap traffic that was in the mix causing you a little bit of fits there?
I was pretty confident that I was going to catch him. I had kind of figured he was going to come out ahead of me, as I had taken tires on the pit stop. But I knew that in the end, the tires were going to be the way to go.
Well, you end up grabbing your second win, not only for the Open, but for the overall. And let's pose that question. Understandably, we break these classes up into, the Pro, the Open, the beneficiary categories. But for you to not only capture, the title of best in class, but to beat out what is a truly impressive field of drivers across all rankings, does that mean a little bit more to you when you capture the overall win as opposed to just a class victory if you come in second, third, or what have you?
It definitely means a lot. Obviously, class wins are nice, but when you can compete with some of the best drivers that we have on the service in the Pro category, it definitely means a lot more.
Well, Chris, we appreciate you being a part of this series. Obviously, there is so much that goes into it. There are so many partners who make this possible. And I'm sure that you have a few on your end as well who help make nights like this possible. Who do you have to thank for your second overall victory in a row?
Of course, I always want to thank Pitstop TV and the whole broadcast crew. I want to thank Operation Motorsports, Recaro, and Mobile One as well.
Well, Chris, congratulations. Not only was it your second overall win of the season, but it was actually your fourth victory in the class for 2021. Off to a spectacular start, my friend, and we look forward to seeing what you have in store for the remaining 3 races on the winter slate. Congrats, Chris Bailey, on a great drive at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Thank you very much. Hopefully we can make a habit of this.
And again, that is Chris Bailey, who looks as though that the northern border swing of the schedule has been very polite to Bailey, to say the least, after having so much success, not only at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve last week, but Canadian Tire Motorsports Park here tonight. With that, I'm going to turn it over to JP Costa, who's with our overall runner-up, but more importantly, the driver who captured top honor in our pros tonight in Charlie Bass.
So Charlie, last week you finished in 3rd position overall. This week you finished in 2nd, and hopefully next week you can be the 1st. But just talk us through qualifying. How hard was it, with nearly 30 cars on the track, trying to find clear air, trying not to get held up, and maybe even try to get a slipstream? How was it on tonight's qualifying session?
Yeah, qualifying was basically a premonition of what the race was going to be like. Hard to navigate lap traffic. Hard to get a clean lap. I don't know if you guys were broadcasting, and I had a couple qualifying laps that I had to abort because I got stuck behind a lap car. And it is what it is on a track like this. It's going to happen, and you just have to try to make the best of it. I was actually pretty happy to go ahead and break the 125 mark and get up on the podium for the start of the race. I think that ended up being what helped me win my class tonight. So.
And obviously, during the race, you kept your nose clean throughout the race, with incidents happening left, right, and center, even catching up our overall winner, Christopher Bailey. You just kept your nose clean, and that definitely paid off on the first part when you saw Christopher Bailey essentially making a mistake. How did that, how did you react seeing Christopher Bailey spun around, essentially?
Anytime you see the guy that you're chasing make a mistake and you inherit the lead, you get a little bit, of nerves, increase in that situation. And so definitely I had to remind myself to focus and drive the car. I was telling myself that all night long, drive the car, Charlie, and was able to do it luckily. So.
Well, and obviously after the incident, Christopher Bailey just went on full attack mode, and obviously he just caught up to you. And were you thinking about battling him, probably just letting him by and saving fuel? What was in your mind? Did you think about different strategies at that point?
Him and I had a couple of encounters when he caught me. The first time I let him go, I was more worried about tires. I was more worried about the class win points. The second time, I gave him a little bit more of a hard time in the end, and saw that number 91 Tyler Langenberg was catching me, and so I decided to let Chris go and go ahead and secure the class win if I could. So.
Yeah, exactly. You had a great pace. Obviously, then Christopher actually made another mistake. But on the pit stops, did you underfuel the car? Did you save a bit of fuel? Or was that just on the spot? The BMW fuel economy just seemed to be better tonight.
No, I got lucky. My crew chief hit the fuel perfect. Actually, on the cool down lap after the end of the race, I ran out. So I had just the right amount, and I got real lucky on that one.
Well, it was great. Obviously, you jumped him in, and obviously, as you said, you're just trying to give him a hard time. And at the end of the race, we saw Tyler Langenberg kind of catch you, and then you started matching pace, not only with Tyler, but also the leader. Were you trying to push and minimize mistake, or just trying to bring the car home at that moment in time?
I definitely wanted to keep the pressure on Chris if I could, maybe force him into a mistake. Racing is racing. But, in the end, I think I've really yet. Tonight was the first time I've seen Chris really make a mistake. So that was kind of a empty attempt there, I guess. But so.
Well, as I said in the beginning, you obviously finished third last week, second this week. How are you feeling for Sonoma next week? Do you feel confident maybe trying to get the overall win?
We'll see. Every time that I get in the car, I expect to win. I don't get on a racetrack to finish second. Whether or not I'm successful at that, but Sonoma is a track that I really like. I've done a lot of laps on it in open wheel cars, and we'll see how it goes.
Well, exactly. That's the perfect mentality as you get on a race car. So, do you have anyone to thank for your win, your class win in second position tonight?
Yeah, for sure. I want to make sure and thank Operation Motorsports for putting on an outstanding show. I want to thank Recaro and Mobile One for making that possible. And especially, I want to make sure I thank my team, Air Force Gaming. I want to say how proud of these guys I am, what we've been able to do in a very short time. I think that huge things are in line for this organization, and I think we're going to be able to continue to show that. Other than that, hey, I just want to give a quick shout out to my mom and dad who are watching tonight, and I want to give a shout out to my commander, Fokker Hall. Appreciate the support, appreciate the fan base back, so yeah.
Well, it was great talking to you. Hopefully next week we can talk once again. And yeah, well, thank you for your time. Well done on the race. Congratulations on the result, and I hope to talk to you next week.
Hey, thanks guys, appreciate it.
That was Charlie Bass, our podium finisher, second place overall, class winner for the pro class. Now we're gonna have the beneficiary class winner, Hunter Reeve, and I'm gonna be passing down to Andrew.
Thank you, JP. And Hunter Reeve drove another amazing race here in the beneficiary category. Hunter, what a night for you. You end up just kind of on your own in the end, but it wasn't always that way. Tell us about your race today.
Yeah, that was tough, actually. It's a really hard track, if I'm honest. It's a lot of flow to it, and you got to get it right. So, yeah, I was just trying to survive, really.
And hey, now I can bring the actual aspect of having driven it with you guys. It was definitely tough. I was in the BMW, provided some insight throughout the race, but for the Porsche, how different might it have been? I mean, I was having problems in 5. I was having problems kind of getting the car to turn, but I'd imagine, of course, a very different balance in the 718. What was it like for you as a Porsche driver trying to fight that car around this place?
You really got to get your setup right in these cars for it to work. And that's the big thing. The engine's in the wrong spot, so it's difficult, but it's manageable. You just got to be smart in how you do certain things.
Absolutely. I've heard nothing short of the Porsche being a tough car to work with. Looking forward, we got 2 races left in the season, Hunter, Sonoma and Sebring, and despite them both starting with S's, they're very different racetracks. How do you attack next week at Sonoma Raceway?
I think the Porsche and BMW will be on a really even playing field this time because the BMW just has so much more power in the straight. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Absolutely. Watch for the 718s be fast next week. The M4 is fast at Sebring. Hunter, before we let you go, who do you have to shout out? Who do you have to thank this evening for your win in the beneficiary category?
Yeah, Operation Motorsport, Recaro, Mobile One, HJ Motorsports, and Tooth Autosport.
Thank you so much for your time this evening, Hunter. Congrats on yet another win in class. I certainly start to put this competition away, rather. That 44 is fast each and every week.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Hope you had fun racing with us.
Oh, it was tons of fun. I may not have been very fast, but it was fun trying to chase you guys.
Come back next weekend.
Oh, that's the plan, buddy. Thanks again, Hunter. We'll see you next time.
Right.
And that was Hunter Reeve, who captured off, again, his 4th win of the season in the beneficiary category and had a strong finish up in the top 10 on the overall. So that was a opportunity to hear from some of our winners in all 3 classes. Let's take a look at how they came to the finish line at the end of our 60-minute event here at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And as we mentioned, Christopher Bailey, not only the top driver in the Open, but also the winner on the overall for the 2nd week in a row. Charlie Bass had enough pace up there to run with the leader on a number of occasions tonight. Unfortunately, fell back there late in the going, but he did cap off a pro victory and 2nd on the overall finish. And Tyler Langenberg may have been 2nd in the pro ranking, still got a podium in what was a very stout field here tonight at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Shane Hunter kept his nose clean all night long with a solid 4th, and Rodney Campbell rounded out your top 5 there as well. Another Open driver, 2nd of the Open competitors in the top 5. Brandon Egershek, another pro driver in 6th. Paul Lindsay, the winner from last week at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, had to settle for 7th place finish on the overall here tonight. David Levine in 8th. Hunter Reeve, the beneficiary winner, 9th overall in the at the time they hit the checkered flag, and Sean Knight rounded out your top 10.
Finishing off in 11th place, we do have the number 33 of Dustin Berghalter, the pro class, and unfortunately not the greatest race for him. Number 69 of Rick Hazlitt finishes off in 12th place, the last driver not to be lapped. Travis Hill on the number 41 finishes on 13th place, and unfortunately he's the first driver to get lapped. Brian Winker on the number 336 finishes off in 14th, right ahead of John Winker on the number 7 car. Chris Matthews finishes off in 16th place. On the number 92, Theo Brosema unfortunately finishes off in P17. He's going to have to fight back in Sonoma next week to try and get some points back from the championship leader on his class. Number 90 of Andrew Cardinale finishes in 18th place. Jason Leach on the number 22 finishes 19th. And Glenn Gray on the number 45 finishes off in 20th.
The rest of the field in this 28-car event, Brock Hogan, a beneficiary in the field, the last car 1 lap down. Jay Gleason 2 laps down, and Caleb Belden was the first driver who finished 3 laps down in 23rd. Tim Bernard, 24th spot. Kurt Gudenkauf is 7 laps down in 25th. Got a great shout out though, however, from our very own Andrew Cardinale the 4th, a little bit midway through the event. Justin Jarrett, we saw that he lagged out a little bit earlier on in tonight. Another one of the beneficiaries in the field, 10 laps down. Brian Burkhart and Trevor Hill, your 28-car field. So there's a lot of people who make these events possible. We want to take this opportunity to thank some of the partners who not only help us out, but who help out this incredible series. And we've heard so many people who kind of make this event possible here, and a lot of them behind the Operation eMotorsport background and banner include those at Recaro, who's the presenting sponsor of Operation eMotorsport. And whether it's on track or iRacing, Recaro Automotive is all about making the drivers safer, more comfortable, and controlled. It's a driving experience that you can really feel, and that's because Recaro Automotive puts people first every time, and they are a proud supporter of Operation Motorsports and iRacing, and also Mobil 1, who has stepped up in a big capacity with this Winners Series and beyond. Remember, Mobil 1 is the world's leading synthetic motor oil brand. We also have a number of partners here on the Pit Stop TV platform as well who help make these events possible, and many of them have stepped up in a number of ways. And of course, we got to thank our friends at Tucson Sound Art, because it is your picture and your music. Provided with any image that you would like, they'll create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker, and with Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for more information on their products and services, and make sure you use the promo code PitStopTV at checkout to save 10% off your purchase. TucsonSoundArt.com for more. We also want to thank our partner at RacePace, because if you ever wish you had a race engineer on speed dial, this is your opportunity to do so. Thanks to RacePace, a driver development service and setup shop, all rolled into one. You can work with Tyler, who's a real-world race engineer, and step up your game before your next race, and make sure that you pick up the pace with RacePace. We also want to thank our partners at Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, because when it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy. Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. The owner, Ashley Boyer, a certified micropigmentation specialist, provides personalized, safe, and professional services. You can contact them on their website, permanentmakeupinmaine.com, and be sure to check out all that they have to offer and call them to book your consultation today, permanentmakeupinmaine.com. And finally, Whiplash Media, the parent company of Pit Stop TV. We specialize in various sim racing resources, camera packs, paint schemes, stream overlays, and more. They also have a footing in the real-world sector of racing as well. And they offer services for photography, social media management, and public relations. Whiplash-media.com for more. Well, JP, another night of racing action for the Operation eMotorsports. And I think we got to hear a little bit earlier tonight, Sam Fellows joined us for an interview to kick this thing off. And, of course, the Fellows name plays a big role in what happens at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. And Sam, of course, the brand ambassador there. And he has helped them get to this point where they're celebrating 60 years of operation. And when he got to talk about his involvement and how he got into the sport, of course, his father is going to go down as one of the best road racers of our generation on this quadrant of the country. But it was interesting to hear just how much it means to him. And that brings us back to what the series is all about. It's able to tap into some of the people who have offered up so much of their time, effort, and energy and services, protecting our countries and keeping our freedoms intact. And we pull them in and get them involved throughout a number of these initiatives that are offered by Operation Motorsports. And it produces some very entertaining racing. And I think that's exactly what we saw here tonight at Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Yeah, exactly. It just shows the absolute class that this series is. You know, it just shows the absolute love that every single driver has for this series. Maybe, like, if it's pro, if it's open, or if it's beneficiary, everybody loves being here. Everybody has fun, which is, I guess, the bottom line. You know, the most important thing is just having fun, you know, distracting you from everything. And, you know, as you said, it just shows the love that people have. You know, this track obviously celebrating 60 years, and I hope to see 60 years more for this racetrack, because it's absolutely lovely. You know, seeing race live on television and obviously on the sim is just as exciting. And, you know, I just hope to see more of it, you know, day after day.
That's perfectly said. And we also want to remind everybody before we sign off here that this eMotorsport sector is just one of the programs that are established by Operation Motorsport. They have Excite programs, Engage programs, Empower programs, driver development and motorsports immersion. And also they encourage all their beneficiaries to give back, and they all do so above and beyond what any possible expectation could ever be. To learn more about all that is available at Operation Motorsport, visit their website at operationmotorsport.org. And if you have any questions, feel free to send them an email at info@operationmotorsport.org. What they are doing, not only for the sport of motorsports, but also for all of these veterans who have done so much for us, is truly out of this world, and we cannot thank them enough, and we are all so fortunate to be a part of it. Now, we still have a couple of things to look forward to as far as the remainder of this schedule. This series will be back up in action in 1 week's time on March 2nd for their third to last race of the season at Sonoma Raceway. They head on down to Mid-Ohio on March 9th for their penultimate race of the season, and an extra distance event at Sebring International Raceway for the season finale March 16th. All the coverage will be here on Pit Stop TV, and we'll be back in action tomorrow with Bluegrass iRacing Series, race number 13 at Bristol. Friday night, more stock car action. LTAC Cup Series at Gateway, and then a Monday night doubleheader with the BRP iRacing Series at Lernerville and the Pacific Challenge GT3 Series at Bathurst. And of course, as we mentioned, we'll be back here in 1 week's time with more Operation eMotorsport action from Sonoma. On behalf of everybody, including our in-race reporter, Andrew Cardinale IV, JP Costa, who joined me on the booth, Corey Rexford, who, as always, gilded on the social media platforms, Emerson Arden in our production truck, I'm Eric Brennan, and we will see you all next time on Pit Stop TV. Good night, everybody.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.